The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, just shared his thoughts on his departure from All Elite Wrestling in a new interview with Chris Van Vliet. He also shared his thoughts about something the Young Bucks did that Cody was not happy about. We're also going to get into a major match announced for SummerSlam and an injury update to one of WWE's biggest stars. All that much more coming up right here in this video. So be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, let's get into it. So the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, was on Chris Van Vliet's YouTube channel doing a podcast where he discussed, among many things, his departure from AEW. Now, of course, this is not the first time Cody has talked about leaving AEW, but it feels like, and I think the sentiment has been, the more interviews and the more times that Cody talks about his departure, the more the hood gets lifted on what exactly went down. And again, we still don't know the contents of what led to that departure, but Cody definitely gave some new insights. Here's the first excerpt from the Chris Van Vliet interview. Quote, "How AEW ended was terrible, really. And people are going to write books later on. These stories are going to get out there. Then it's going to be a whole new ball game. Regardless of the squabbles, regardless of any of the petty squabbles, I will always have love for it. I got to wrestle Brody Lee's final match. I got to lead people, young people behind the scenes. I will always have a love for it." And that is, again, Cody talking about his departure. And I want everyone to also kind of take a step back. People usually like to say, oh my God, Cody Rhodes, he hates AEW. That is not the case. And Cody has made that abundantly clear. His ill will is not with the company, nor even with, I don't think, his fellow EVPs. He spoke very highly of the EVPs. We'll get to actually what he said about the EVPs later on. But I think, there's an immediate desire to sensationalize this into being something along the lines of Cody wants AEW to fail. And I don't think that is true. In fact, he's stated in a very heartfelt way the opposite multiple times, because at the end of the day, Cody helped start AEW and he was there from the beginning. So I don't think this is a case where he wants AEW to fail or anything like that. But him saying that things ended really, really badly is relatively new. We knew that there were things behind the scenes that led to Cody's departure. He stated in a previous interview, I believe it was with his A&E documentary, where he basically said, I left AEW due to a personal issue. And he then expanded on it a little bit in that Ariel Helwani interview where he said, he mentioned things that may or may not have been said about Brandy on his way out and other things. And the vibe that we got was that this was not as much of a clean break as it was seen to be at the time, right? It was a little bit more than just, hey, it's time to leave the territory. While that was, I think, very true, and Cody's heart was in going back to WWE and being the guy there, and look, it worked out. Cody is the biggest star in the biggest company on the biggest stage possible, and he succeeded in accomplishing and achieving his dream. And AEW is still doing great business. They're going to get a massive rights increase, all that kind of stuff. So I think while that is true, there is a little bit more to that. And as Cody stated, people are going to do podcasts. People are going to write books. These stories are going to come out over time. And one day we will know at least more of the truth, I think. And I think over time, it'll just come out through these interviews and we'll be able to, put these bits and pieces together into one more clear picture of what transpired. But it does seem that there was friction. And Cody's even talked about this, just from an ideology standpoint of what AEW and pro wrestling should be, there was friction with the way the other EVPs, Tony Khan and Cody, viewed it. And, I think, when you have so many things, when you have the personal issues that Cody alludes to, when you have the personal desire that Cody had to be elsewhere, when you have the fact that he was lost. He was lost in AEW, and he was doing nothing of significant importance his last almost 2 years in the company. I would say a year and a half in the company. When you factor that all together, you just cannot beat the idea that there were a lot of things that led to Cody leaving AEW, and for better, for worse, all that kind of stuff, it was the right decision overall. Now, we also had Cody speak about the Young Bucks, and Cody basically said that the Young Bucks did something that he was not a fan of. And here's what he had to say, quote, "I hated that in the Young Bucks book, they said I was the last to the signing, because that's a big thing. Some of the AEW defenders who don't realize they're turning people off to their product more than they're turning people on, that's one of the things that people always cite. Oh, he was last. He wasn't that big a deal to the origin. No, this guy here who's off camera was the first person to ever meet Tony. He met him in a vetting process for all of us. So yes, I guess I was the last, and yes, I had different thoughts, and it's not incorrect at all what they say. Yeah, that's not incorrect, but I was just in on it as well as anyone else, and that is alluding to the fact that Cody was the final person to actually sign there and be there when AEW was quote unquote officially formed. But I mean, look, AEW does not happen without Cody, and I would even make the argument that the biggest catalyst for AEW as far as who's a founding member outside of Tony Khan, because of course without him you don't see AEW in the way that it is now, but AEW as we know it being a thing, I think of those EVPs, Cody did the legwork. Cody Rhodes, at the end of the day, is the one who went out there and challenged Meltzer. Cody Rhodes is the one who was, the guy who was the PR machine at the time for All In and then AEW. Cody Rhodes was positioned to be the face of this franchise. It was the Cody Rhodes show. It was positioned to be that. That does not discredit or invalidate any of the work that the others did, as Cody even cites that they did. But the truth is, you do not have AEW without Cody. And while we don't know what the Bucks necessarily meant in that, I have not read their book. I understand how if you're reading a passage and it notes that fact, and maybe it's very easy for that to be taken out of context. It's very easy for these things to unravel, and for the wrestling community, as I'm sure many of you right now are in the comments, to get really unhinged and talk about things in a very sensationalized way. All of that stuff is very easy, and it will happen. But when you kind of poke like these situations and you frame them in certain ways, it's much easier to do that. And I think what Cody's getting at here is he didn't like the fact that it was framed in a way that kind of left him open to that criticism. And I could see him being upset with that, and rightfully so. I would also probably feel some type of way about it. That doesn't mean that the Bucks are evil or whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, it's just this. I think it plays into just the way certain things are viewed, and again, people have different perspectives. Matt and Nick and Cody will never have the same perspective because they are coming from two very different places and two very different lived experiences. So I think a lot of times these squabbles, or whatever you want to call them, can be more so narrowed down to just misunderstandings over a period of time. And the more we kind of delve into the Cody Rhodes saga in AEW, the more it does seem like there may have been misunderstanding after misunderstanding after misunderstanding that just eroded away and led to just both parties being like, I don't think there's anything left to do here. And again, hard to argue with the results. Cody definitely made the right decision. So we'll see what happens with this, as I'm sure we are going to be talking about Cody Rhodes and his departure from AEW way more than we're going to be probably talking about his world title reign, because that's how wrestling media and Twitter works. But we also will be talking about Cody's title reign in one of the podcasts coming up, guys. Be sure to subscribe. Moving on, we have an update on Rhea Ripley, who of course suffered an injury right after WrestleMania and was stripped of the Women's World Championship. We have learned from PW Insider that Rhea Ripley has not been 100% clear for physicality, but sources expect that process to be completed by SummerSlam. And if you didn't believe that report, came out today as well. The match is official. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Women's World Championship on the line at SummerSlam. And look, this is major news. WWE is getting back one of their biggest stars. And one thing is true. Rhea Ripley, when she walks in a room, when she walks into an arena, that aura, that innate charisma that not many people in professional wrestling to this day have, she possesses that in leaps and bounds. She is, I think, your biggest women's star. I think she is right up there in the company's your top 3 biggest stars. And I think that, like, the story that they have told here with Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and it's one that, you know, I think at this point has been, for a certain select group of fans, has probably been a bit underwhelming. I tend to fall into that camp. I still think it's a great story. And I just think that there's more they could have done with it. But regardless, on Monday Night Raw, stuff with Rhea Ripley, stuff with the Judgment Day, hottest stuff on the entire show. Like, they get up for it. It's that and the Wyatt Six. And when you are the hottest segment on one of the most watched wrestling shows in the world, that shows you what type of talent that Rhea is. And I think this match at SummerSlam has the potential to really captivate and steal the show in a way that I don't think a WWE match has done since probably Mania, probably Cody's main event. That really captivated everyone, obviously. But I think there's so many different directions it could go. Like, you could have Rhea winning the title back, reclaiming everything, but I don't think that's the route they're going. I think the slow bird is probably more so what they're doing here, because they planted these seeds of doubt with Dominic Mysterio. They planted these seeds of doubt with his relationship with Liv Morgan. And I think we're going to probably get to a place where Dominic Mysterio costs Rhea Ripley the match here. And we end up having, you know, Dom almost like, again, in a way, captivated by Liv Morgan. And I think there's a lot of great storytelling they could do there. And it's going to be interesting, basically, to watch what happens. But Rhea Ripley coming back, looks like she is at least close to, if not cleared already. She is scheduled to face Liv Morgan. I doubt that WWE would put her in that position if indeed she was not clear. But guess we'll see. Let me know in the comments section, though, what you guys think about this. Before we do the little sound off, though, I do want to send a heartfelt thank you to everyone who went over and subscribed over at youtube.com/WrestleVibes. WrestleVibes was a new project that I started last year that was supposed to just be me making some dope wrestling videos. That's what I call them. More produced, like quasi-docu style content. And we just hit 1,000 subscribers over there, which fantastic. It's the fastest channel I've grown to that length in like the first year, less than the first year, honestly. And it's really a testament to the support from a lot of people from this community. So I appreciate all of you who went over to WrestleVibes and subscribed. If you haven't already done that, go over and do that. It's a great channel. I've got a lot of cool stuff planned there. Like really long form docu-style content. Like not just like these 5, 6, even 10-minute clips or videos that I've been putting together. Like I'm talking about like half an hour to plus long content I have planned and you know, at least the audio recorded. We'll get to a point where the editing's there, but I'm really excited about the prospects that brings, and I'm just excited to create some dope content. I love what I do here. You're always gonna get the news from me. You're always gonna get all that kind of stuff. But Wrestle Vibe just offers y'all a different kind of way to consume the content I create, and different content too. Like, you want to learn more about like specific storylines or go in depth about them. That's where you go. You want to learn more about wrestling history and like that kind of stuff. I plan to do all of that. Go over to Wrestle Vibes, join the community, join this one, subscribe here too. Do all the subscribes. But I appreciate all of you. Not possible without your support. Thank you so much. And yeah, until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.